Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to TQM Travels. Today, Lisa and I woke up super early in the morning to come back here to Tunnel View. I'm trying to get a cool early morning time lapse of the sunrise behind the valley here. So Lisa's here as well, but she is in the rental car because it is very chilly outside and she wants to stay warm as long as possible. As you can see, there are several other photographers here just having their tripods lined up along the viewpoint to look down into the valley. It's really pretty to see so far, so hopefully we're treated to an epic sunrise this morning. So why don't we go ahead and enjoy the sunrise, and then we'll catch up with you guys after. So sunrise here at Tunnel View is pretty spectacular. You can see the wall of sunlight just sort of trickling down the rock faces here. Now, because of the time of year we're here, I do think the sun doesn't actually rise too high. It's going to take quite a while to fill the valley with sunlight, if at all even. I'm not sure how low the sun stays, so we don't really have time for that. So I'm going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, and we're going to head back into the valley in order to get something to eat for breakfast, and we'll catch up with you afterwards to see what we do for the day. So we are back here in our tent at Curry Village for one last time. We're just getting everything packed up so we can check out. And then Lisa and I were considering biking yesterday, but it is so cold this morning. It's like 27 degrees, and Lisa's like, there's no way.
You bike the wind, just you make wind. That's just not my jam.
Yeah, Lisa's like, there's no way we're biking. So we're planning on doing the Lower Yosemite Falls Trail still. That's a very short trail. And then also just checking out a couple of viewpoints here in the valley. And then I think we're going to try to do a short hike at one of the giant Sequoia groves. We're not going to be doing the Mariposa Grove, which is the most popular of the three that are here in the park, because it's a long hike just to get to the trailhead. So we'll see which one we do a little later. But before we leave, I thought we would give you our thoughts of the tent here at Curry Valley. Overall, I thought the experience was pretty nice, especially because we have a tent with the heater. It has some drawbacks though. One, it is still pretty cold, especially this time of year. We had to try to have the heater going as much as we could because
They recommend you turn it all the way up though, and we didn't do that.
Okay, dang.
Maybe we should have read the
The other negative that I have is like, we were trying to go to sleep fairly early because of our hiking and everything, but it was still pretty loud. There's a lot of people talking and stuff.
Till 10,
Yeah.
which is, it's fine. I fell asleep regardless. Someone made me climb up an entire mountain and like 2 waterfalls.
Right.
So that was enough. I was asleep.
Yeah.
With the light on.
But the bedding I thought was, decent. It's not the most comfortable bed, but the blankets were warm enough for me. The tent was,
It's a tent.
yeah, it's better than camping out like we were doing in 18-degree weather back at home. So we're going to now head out to the valley, and we'll see you out there. Lisa and I are here at the Lower Falls Trail. This is supposed to be a really easy loop. It's only supposed to take like 30 minutes or so to make the whole trail, but you can see behind us, you can already see both Lower and Upper Yosemite Falls. So there is a 7.1 mile trail to go up to the top of Upper Falls back there. So you want to do that, Lisa?
You already told me this morning his feet hurt too much, so.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to be doing that hike after yesterday. So we're going to go just take a nice stroll around the waterfalls and get some photos and videos over there. So Lisa and I have made it here to the viewing platform to see Lower Yosemite Falls behind me. It's quite an impressive waterfall. We were actually pretty fortunate to be coming at a time where there's a good bit of water flow, because I know the prime time to see the waterfall is late spring into early summer, and then soon after that it dries up in the late summer. So there was some storms that blew through earlier this month, and I'm sure that contributes to having good water flow here. So we're pretty happy to see the waterfall. It looks like you can actually get up pretty close to the waterfall in some of these rocks, so I might go walk over there and see how close I can get, and then we'll finish up the trail. So far it's been super easy though, so here we go. Lisa's not entirely pleased with me because she says, I thought this was supposed to just be a flat trail.
No, I was told this was only going to be a flat.
We weren't really expecting to climb these rocks over, but it looked so accessible, we just had to do it. Wow, you can get up really close to the waterfall along these rocks. You can see there's people further up that way, even back over here, but Lisa and I thought this was a pretty good vantage point where you can see the entire waterfall. It's really pretty. It's a great little trek over. It's not too hard to do. Walking back will be a little bit tricky, I'm sure, mainly because I have to juggle my cameras, but it's not too bad over here. I would definitely be careful because it can get slippery. There's some water misting onto me right now. Luckily, it's really warmed up a lot. I had to take off my jacket pretty much as soon as I got to the viewpoint over here because it's really warming up quickly. So now we're gonna walk back and finish up the trail, and then we'll probably see you guys at our next viewpoint, which I think is gonna be the Yosemite Valley viewpoint. So we'll see you guys over there. So after our hike, Lisa and I grabbed a quick lunch at Yosemite Village, and now we are going to be heading out of the valley. But before we leave, we're checking out a couple of viewpoints. The first one here is the Yosemite Valley view. You can see behind me, you can look down into the valley here. You really get a nice view of the valley. El Capitan is quite prominent here. And really, it's quite a spectacular view right along the river here. So we're just getting a couple of quick photos here, and then we're going to continue on to the next overlook, which is going to be the Oak Road overlook. We actually passed that one along the way into the park when we came in a couple days ago, but we weren't able to stop. So this time we'll try to get a couple of photos there as well before we head off to see some sequoias. Now Lisa and I are getting our final views of Yosemite Valley here at the big Flat Oak Road overlook. This is a pretty easy to get to overlook. It's right off of the road from one of the...
He went to the wrong one 3 times.
Yeah, there are a couple of other pull-offs along the road, but this is the main one here where you can look down into the valley. It's a gorgeous sight. And this should be our last view of the valley. Now we do have one final destination here in Yosemite National Park, and that's going to be the Tuolumne Sequoia Grove. So we're going to head over there, and we'll see you at the trailhead. So just a little further down the road, there's another pull-off with a great overlook. This time you can actually see Half Dome in the background. It's really a spectacular view. I'm going to get a couple more photos here, and then we'll actually continue along the road, and one day we'll make it to the Sequoia Grove. Lisa and I have finally made it to our final trail for our trip here to Yosemite National Park. We are doing the Tuolumne Grove Trail. It's about, what, a mile down to the Grove. Unfortunately, it's downhill all the way, which means on the way back, it's gonna be an uphill climb. I think we're looking at 400 feet of elevation change, so shouldn't be too bad, but it's not gonna be like an easy flat walk in the park here. So why don't we go hit the trail and see some of these giant sequoias. After about 10 minutes of walking downhill, we are now coming up to the Tuolumne Grove of giant sequoias. So this is one of 3 sequoia groves here in the park. There's Mariposa Grove, which is the most popular. I think this is the second most popular, and there's also the Merced Grove, which is pretty close. I hear that trail right now was closed though, so it was pretty much decided that Lisa and I had to come to this grove, but we should see some giant trees. Looking forward to it. This tree is so big, it's going to be hard to show you in this video here. Lisa's right here, but she's a tiny little human next to this giant tree, geez. Yeah, that's quite a tree for sure. Sequoias really stand out next to all of the small, puny trees. They are so big. Sequoias are huge. It's really hard to get photos of and videos of. I feel like the videos are just gonna make them look like normal trees. You can't really get a good sense of scale. It'd be really cool if we could get right up next to one, because then you can really just see how large they are compared to our tiny bodies. They're a pretty rare species. I think they said there are 25 sequoias here in this grove specifically. It's not a common sight. They're pretty spectacular to see. Lisa, what do you think's more impressive between the sequoias and the redwoods from your woods the other day?
I like the sequoias.
Yeah, they're so big. The redwoods are tall and their bark was gorgeous, but the scale of these sequoias is just something else. It's like, what am I looking at? You can just see compared to like the normal like pine trees in the area, and then there's just this fat giant tree right behind them. It's crazy. We've looped back to Big Red. That's what we learned this one was called. This is the first sequoia we saw. It was also the biggest of the sequoias that we saw.
We were hoping they'd get bigger, and then we were disappointed, but still not super disappointed.
Now we get to begin the 400-foot climb back up. Are you excited, Lisa? Nope. Here we go. We'll make it. Well, we made it back up here to the trailhead. The hike back up really wasn't that bad. It was a little steep down by the grove, but back up here at the beginning of the trail, it flattens off a pretty good bit. So it only took us maybe 20 minutes or so to hike back up. Pretty short hike overall, and you get to enjoy some really big sequoia trees. Lisa and I really enjoyed the trail, and I would highly recommend it if you're visiting the park. That's pretty much going to be it for our trip here to Yosemite. I'm going to try to find a quick overlook to pull off to, so Lisa and I can tell you what we thought of the park before we leave. That is going to be it for our trip here to Yosemite National Park. I really had a great time here at the park. Among all of the national parks that I visited, I would definitely rank this up there. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time here at the park.
It had its ups and it had its downs. And then it had its back ups. And then it had its back downs. I really didn't like the ups, but I also didn't like the downs. So it was a pretty rough sort of trail situation.
That Vernal Falls and Nevada Falls Trail, that was super tough. But I do feel so accomplished completing that trail. That is definitely the...
More ups and downs. I did this a lot. And then up, and then down, and then up. The weather.
Even today, because like in the valley, it was like in the low mid-20s. And then up here, and then it's like 60 degrees. Oh man, it's crazy.
You're not even wearing a jacket. Well, the sun is saying goodbye, and so must we, so...
Yep, that is going to be it for our time here at Yosemite. So
to sum it up, best national park I've been to. Full disclosure, I've only been to 2.
3. Hot Springs, Great Smokies.
Oh, I always forget about the Great Smokies. Still number 1.
Yeah, this would probably be very close to the top, if not the very top of my list as well. So that's going to be it for this episode. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. And also, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you could be notified of our next episode coming out. Tomorrow, Lisa and I are returning back to the city as we take a day trip to Monterey and Carmel. So you definitely want to make sure to stay tuned for that. And until next time, guys, cheers.